Hello, welcome to another extra video that I'm writing as I work on the next big video, and just like this next one is going to be big. But before I get into the topic of the video, I'd just like to thank everyone for their interest in this project. It doesn't even have a name yet I still receive so many comments giving me feedback or just saying they like my videos. Comments are my favorite thing about creating anything online, and I love each and every one of them. Now for the actual topic. What exactly do I mean when I say I am making a Half-Life clone? I've seen some confusion about what exactly is a clone in this context, and I am aware this naming is a bit odd, but I have a very good reason to use this word specifically. Let's start by going over some other names that I've considered and why I decided not to use them. First one I used was Fun Game. You can still see it being referred to as such in some of my old shorts. I initially used it because this project is exactly that. A game I am making as a tribute to the original, because I am a fan of it. It is a game of a fan. A fun game. But usually when we hear the word fun game, we think of a game that's made by fans to expand upon the original work, not only in gameplay, but also in the story. Undertale Yellow, Pokemon Uranium, Five Nights at Candy's. Those are the few of the most popular fun games I can think of from the top of my head, and they all work within the gameplay and story boundaries of the original game. Of course, there are few fun games which share the gameplay of the original but not the story. Five Nights at Treasure Island is one fun game I can think of that has nothing to do with the game it was based on, except for gameplay. Unfortunately, the connotations are still there. Vast majority of people expect an expansion of the original material when they hear of the word fun game, and I don't want to make people think I am making a Half-Life game. This is a standalone, completely original, legally distinct project that just takes a lot of inspiration from Half-Life. Another term we could use is a spiritual successor. This term is reserved for games which aim to be unofficial sequels for franchises that either aren't getting new games or aren't getting new games of any good quality. Like, Cities Skylines is a successor to Sin City, or Dishonored is a successor to Thief. Now, the thing about both Cities Skylines and Dishonored is that they're both really goddamn good. Now, I assume most people here aren't aware of my game dev past, but unlike previously mentioned games, it's not very good. For all intents and purposes, I'm a game dev noob. Of course, I can work around my own limitations, but that's not really what you would expect from a genre-defining game like Half-Life was. Even though I think this game is going to be my greatest one yet, that's not that high of a bar. The next Half-Life game is not going to be made by a hobbyist with no formal education, and I think calling it a spiritual successor is giving myself much too much credit. And why not just use the game's name? Few reasons. The main one is that I don't have one. Half-Life has a pretty clever name that references physics, and I want something equally as cool. But the issue is, I suck at naming anything, so a good name won't come up in a long while. But there's also an issue of marketability. The name I'm gonna come up with will have no intrinsic recognizability. If you had two videos, one which says making a Half-Life fun game and the other making a retro shooter, you would click on the Half-Life one. Because you know Half-Life, you like Half-Life, and you want to see more games like Half-Life. That's why there's so many making GTA in a week videos. That's also why there's a lot of articles saying stuff like this game is the Dark Souls of platformers. Because people know Dark Souls, they know how difficult it is, they like how difficult it is, so they want more difficult games. Unfortunately, we all have to play the marketing game. Trust me, I would love to just shit out a game once in a while and have hordes of people playing and giving feedback unconditionally. But that's not how it works. There are thousands of games, dozens of social media, streaming services and news sites competing for your interest and attention, and we all have to make our stuff as appealing as possible, even if it includes shitty clickbait with red arrows on the thumbnail. So why a clone? Well, the term clone is a bit of an old one. Back in the day we didn't have terms for game genres. We didn't have Metroidvania, Souls-likes, the first-person shooters or platformer fighters. We had a popular game that did something and a bunch of other games that did the same thing. So how do we convey that this game plays like something but it's not the something? We call it a clone. Unreal Tournament was a clone of Quake, Rock Band was a clone of Guitar Hero, Saints Row was a clone of GTA. The idea of clones still lives today with terms like Soulsborne, roguelike, or Metroidvania, which convey the same idea of this game is like this other game. But there isn't really a convenient term for Half-Life games though. What would they even call them? Half-likes? Thus, the classic term clone was the only reasonable choice in my mind, even though it's a pretty obsolete one.